Welcome back. With a mission to provide a safe space for teens looking to unapologetically celebrate themselves, the NYPL hosts an anti-prom in the Bronx. Here to tell us more about this celebration is Tabrizia Jones, young adult senior librarian for the Pelham Parkway Van-Nest Library. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
Now, can you tell us a little bit more about the anti-prom?
Yes, so the Anti-Prom is an event that was created by the New York Public Library as to create a safe space for teens to be able to come into, if they didn't feel comfortable going into their own high school prom, whether if it was their sexual identity or gender identity, or they just weren't, they didn't feel like it was a place for them. We created this event for teens to be able to come and spend like an after hours at the library in a safe and comfortable environment where they have a chance to be themselves.
Now, why do you think it's so important to have a safe space for these teenagers to just explore the identity?
Well, I think as we've all known, like adults, being a teenager is like a tumultuous time. They deal with like a different hormones and experiences, and sometimes they need a place to express themselves. And I think even after coming out of the pandemic, it's becoming more difficult. So we want to make sure that the anti-prom and any place of part of the New York Public Library, the teens feel welcome and they're open and they just feel like that they have a chance to with different learning possibilities and meeting new people and meeting new experiences, so they can like treasure those memories when as they get older.
Now, I'd like to know a little bit more about you. Can you just tell us how you got involved with the NYPL anti-prom?
Sure. So, including me and my co-chair Whitney Davidson Rhodes, we decided, and along with other Bronx YA librarians, we decided that even though with the success of the at the time the only anti-prom, the one that happened at the Schwartzman Building at Bryant Park. Not a lot of teens in the Bronx, if they live in the Bronx, they're able to go to the one in Manhattan because of various issues. One of the main issues is that because traveling there, it takes a lot of time. They may not be able to go. So we decided to bring one in the Bronx. And it was just so important to show that the things happen in the Bronx. Wonderful things can happen in the Bronx, especially part of the New York Public Library, and we wanted to highlight that. So we decided to join together and start this committee so we can make sure that Bronx teens, even all, not just Bronx teens, any New York City teens come to this event, make sure that this is one of the great things that they can expect of our home borough.
So I love that you mentioned that, it was nice to have something in the Bronx because I often feel like we have to go out to do certain things. So it's amazing that it's here in the Bronx. Can you explain why it's also so important just for teenagers in the Bronx? Because I do feel like sometimes the Bronx can get ignored. So why is it so important that, Bronx teens have something like this to kind of, go to and explore themselves a little bit?
Well, it's just like it's so important is because it's just to show that the Bronx teens matter. Like it's like you said, like we have to go outside of the Bronx to go for things. I know when I was a teenager, and even sometimes it's the same now in my adult years. We have to go outside the Bronx, and that's not always the case. The Bronx is my borough. I've born and raised, and I continue living in the Bronx. It is something that I always treasure in my heart, and it's a place that always gets a bad rap, and we just want to make sure that that's not always the case. The Bronx has wonderful and beautiful things, and one of the things that comes out of the Bronx is the teens because it's just like so much creativity and admiration and from there, and we want to celebrate that with this anti-prom.
And I think that's amazing. I think that, the Bronx just in itself is so colorful. But of course, Bronx youth kind of make it what it is and kind of give us that edge and make us cool. So I love that they have something here. Now, I know that Anti-Prom took a 2-year hiatus in response to the pandemic. Can you explain, what the NYPL did instead to, to still give teenagers a place to express themselves?
Yes. So what during the 2-year pandemic, unfortunately, we had to bring everything virtual. So, but that didn't stop librarians from all across the New York Public Library system to make sure to let teens know that there are various things that we can do at the library, even if it's virtually. So we had like the Teen Reading Ambassadors program. That was an initiative that started during the pandemic, where you had teens who applied to be ambassadors to create the first ever children's magazine portal online. Um, we also had like tutoring programs, and we had a slew of different virtual programs that were given, varying from art programs, STEM programs, book clubs. It just like author talks. It was just like amazing things to make sure that teens and children and everyone was kept active and make sure to know that the library, even it could not be there physically for you, or there virtually for you. So we wanted to make sure to highlight those important resources.
So as I mentioned, the Anti-Prom is coming back after 2 years. What are you looking forward to the most?
Seeing the teens being happy and just interacting and coming back and just like seeing them dancing and being a part of a community again, and also coming back to the libraries just to show that we're back, and even though and we're just rising from like all the stuff that we have come from, and just to highlight that this is like a great celebration to show that we made it through this unfortunate tumultuous time for our lives.
Now, this year, the theme is Bronx Rising. Can you tell us a little bit about the inspiration behind that and why it's so important?
Yes, so Bronx Rising, it shows that even though during this 2-year pandemic, the Bronx still rises from the ashes. Phoenix rises from the ashes, and we got this this similar theme from actually a book that we recently had an author interview with, Burn Down, Rise Up by Vincent Torrado, who is a Bronx native author. So we came up with the theme Bronx Rising to show that we're back, even though that after these 2 tumultuous years um, of sickness and tragedy, we're still coming back, and we're showing that we have rise from the ashes, and we have come back better than ever. And there's just so much more that the Bronx has to offer.
Now, the NYPL has been hosting the Anti-Prom for quite some time. What has the response been like from the community, but most importantly, from the teens themselves?
They absolutely love it. It's just like for the teens, they have this place where they can. It's just so comfortable for them, and they can just be themselves. And for I, when I highlight this program to some adults, they're like, "Wow, this is amazing! I wish I had this when I was a teenager." And I feel that personally, because it's um, it's just an amazing an event to have, like a free event for teens to just go to be in a dance party, just to hang out with their friends, or even like to sit in a corner and read, because we give them that possibility for them to do at these kind of things. Like they can just do a various of different activities. It doesn't have to be just like sticking to that like strict like dance party kind of thing. But it is that is ultimately it's like a dance party. But the response for it has been always so great and so wonderful. People really highlight it as just like a very great event for teens to attend.
And I think it's so amazing that it's so important to note that it's also a safe place, right? Because I think as teenagers, sometimes you could kind of go down a wrong path or explore yourself in ways that probably aren't the best to you in the future. So the fact that they have somewhere that's safe, that they can do this, I think is amazing. Now, the NYPL anti-prom has been around for a long time, a little over 10 years. How do you think society has changed in regards to that?
So, with the book bannings and recent societal issues, it has changed. I wish I could say for the better, but I think it also highlights why this is needed now more than ever, because we assume that everyone is accepting of like how the differences in people, and that's not always the case. So I feel like this is more important than ever to highlight that this is a if you don't feel that you're comfortable, either it's in your home or in your school or in society, this is the one event where you can truly be yourself and no one will judge you. And I feel like that is something everyone needs to hear at the moment, especially teens, because they are dealing with various emotions while they're growing up in their teenage years. And having this event really highlights the importance and the emphasis of just truly being yourself.
Now, how can teens register for this and how can they stay up to date with the NYPL?
So you can go and visit our website, nypl.org/anti-prom, where you will find the registration link for the event. And you can also follow us on Facebook and social media at NYPL, where you can get recent updates and also highlighting of everything about this event.
All right, and I also want to just add that you mentioned that books are still going to be a part of this. So although it is a party, you can still read. Can you quickly just tell us a little bit more about that?
Sure. So we leading up to the big party event, we had a series of author talks, and we purchased some free books for teens to be able to pick up with a bookmark so they can be able to read it and also at the dance or even take it home. Then also during our Summer at the Library program, Make Waves, the library is giving out 500,000 books to kids and teens this summer. And we're also having some of those books at the dance to give away for teens for free.
All right, that's amazing. Tabrizia, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you so much for inviting me.
We'll be right back with more Open BxRx Tuesday.